Okay, so a little bit of time's happened about towards the end of the week now. Kind of had to put a rush on this to get things ready for this upcoming job. Timeline's starting to run kind of tight. Actually, this is Saturday that I'm working on finishing this up, and the job starts Sunday. So Sunday evening is when we start this install. So I've been kind of rushing to get things finished up, but yeah, so I'll kind of give you an overview of where things have gone so far. So the front here, not a whole lot's changed in the top section. I did get the link cables in here. These are the 10 gig link cables. So those are in there, looping from this switch to this switch, from here down to here, and then this one right here. Kind of cuts around the corner here, just put it over here just to kind of hide it. Comes back up to the top switch. That way, no matter what happened, if say one of these came loose or got pinched and cut or something, the whole system stays up and running. So makes it nice and easy on quoting, because we can just say, we need one 10 gig cable per switch, and 1, 2, and the third one from this one loops back up to the beginning. So works real nice. I think these are the half meter size. Seems to work pretty good. Gives me enough to reach back up to the top on most stacks that we do. Even on a 4 stack, you have to shortcut across a little more, but basically still works about the same. And with just a little bit of curl, these work pretty good. So let's see here. I got a call coming in. I'm gonna hop back over here. Down here, I can't remember exactly what all I've moved, but I did kind of move some of this lower stuff around to make a little room. And I did put some labels in here just so when we get to the job, we know what of the old stuff's getting slid into where and what's prepped for what. Just makes it easier as I'm going through for me not to forget, and for my guys to know what to insert where. I can have somebody slide those things in and be ready to go. So this is DBX, which is the audio processor, is going to go right in here. The shelf is here. I wish I had one more space at clearance. Maybe I will move things around. I don't know, probably not, but they don't really have much that goes in here. And I wanted to leave room down here they have a laptop tray, like a sliding out laptop tray that they set their laptop up on and slide in the rack when it's not in use. And I wanted to allow enough space for that, and that was tight, so I didn't have the space for it. So I shifted things around to allow some space for that. RTI, so this is our control system. This will be blank space here, I believe. I need to get screws for that. Watt box. This is going to be rack drawer, a little lower than I like. If you're standing up, it's kind of have to bend over a little bit for it. But it was going to be the best spot for it, because I like to use that drawer to isolate the heat that's coming off of these DirecTV receivers. So you can see all that air and the heat coming off those guys comes right up through here, and then I want to get it to go out to the sides of the rack and up. So it's not just rising right up through the rest of the gear in the rack and heating things up. So you try to use that drawer to kind of block some of that heat. Usually the stuff they put in there, remotes, cables, things like that, aren't really affected by that heat. DirecTV receivers here, and amps down at the bottom. You can see I got a label down there for those. So that's where we're at in the front. I've run some more of my data lines. So these data lines are going through. I need to get some more blanks for here. I don't remember if I had my auxes in here already. I think I did on my last video. These are some data uplinks that just go to the tray right here. These will all be blanked out. This will be my main uplink into the system. I also realized that these were supposed to be white. Generally, we use white for anything that's multi-VLAN, essentially like all the colors. So mix them all together, you get white, at least in light. So that's kind of the pattern we go by. So I should have this actually as a white uplink to the switch up here. So I may have somebody switch that over if we have time on site. I went ahead and got some of my blanks in. Like I said, I need to fill. The rest of these will all be filled with blanks. These two are the last two receivers, so these will all be full. These two will be full. That's our last transmitter. These two will be blanked off as well. But that's where we're at so far. Coming around to the back, I've got my transmitters wired up. So I can't remember if I had these wired in the last video, or I know maybe the next to last video hadn't put the RJ45s on in all these yet. But they're all on. HDMIs, I actually put those in today. I'm going to put a little piece of Velcro, well, let's see here. I think down here you can see how I've got them. So basically, it's a piece of Velcro that holds the HDMI and the CAT for each transmitter together. Two functions of that. One, it cleans things up, makes it look nice from the side. It's kind of hard to see now, but you can see it looks kind of a crazy mess across there, especially in its upper side where none of them have been done. But as you go down here, you can see these two right here look a little nicer. I'll get the rest of these over here all done. Once they're all done up, that should make that all look a little nicer. But yeah, there's two functions for that. One is just that it makes it look nice. And the second function is when you are doing firmware updates on the adjusted power stuff, they recommend removing all the HDMI cables from the devices. That way there's no chance of video traffic running across them. That just is a little bit of a protection for them basically trying to do too much work when they're in the middle of an update. Encoding, decoding video can lead to like a brick device or something like that. So they recommend just removing the video feed. I think their newer software kind of takes care of it in the software already, but I still do it when I can. And doing that means that when you unplug these, instead of them falling down in the rack and you losing track of which one's which and having to look at all the labels, you know that, hey, this one goes to this cable, so it literally just goes right here and boom. You can plug those in nice and fast, makes that real quick. You also see I've got my my lacing bars come across, all my CAT lines, HDMI lines, everything's all Velcroed. We use Velcro on pretty much everything. Let's see if I can get my camera to focus here. So we like to use Velcro on pretty much any lines in the rack. The only exception to that is power lines. You'll see like a power cable for the Deca here. I've got this one zip tied, and my main power cord, this comes from the Watt box. This has some zip ties on it. Oh, I got a zip tie tail I got to cut off right here. Let's find my tool for that and cut that off. But yeah, so zip ties, about the only thing we use that on is power cables, because those are the sort of thing that will stay. Everything else is subject to change, as you probably well know. They may plug in a different device, hook up something different, need to reroute a cable or change something. Having Velcro makes it real easy. Nobody's got any excuse for not swapping out their, cable management, not recabling new lines or things like that. Sometimes if you get zip ties across there, somebody goes, oh man, I don't want to cut all those zip ties, and I don't have zip ties with me to put in. I'm just going to shortcut this cable across and plug it in. Yeah, I can see the validity of that. To me, it's a little lazy, but sometimes you don't have zip ties, or sometimes, you don't want to cut all the zip ties and lose track of all the current cable management. This way you can just add a wire in, just run it across, plug it in, add it to the Velcro one by one, nice and easy. So no excuse for cleaning things up when you're the guy coming behind. So let's see here. Over here, I've got my, moving down in the rack here, the DBX will be here. Got my auxiliary, the back side of my auxiliaries. Got them nice and secured up here to the patch panel. This is 1/8 inch 3.5 millimeter audio and HDMI. On this side over here, you can see the data lines all coming in, all the ones that come. Let's see if I can get down here so you can see a little better. I get it to focus. So these are all secured up here with their zip ties. This brand of panel comes with this nice back plate. So all the ones that go down into the rack come across here, they go down. I'm cutting them across inside this panel. It's kind of got a hollow channel. I'll show you that in a second. The one that go up, which is just the main switch up link, goes right up here, curls in, it comes right in, nice and neat. These two keystones right there are receivers. One is for preview screen and the other is for audio. So we can do audio extraction of any channel in the system, either from the TV or from the transmitter itself. So if you say, hey, I want to listen to whatever's on TV 32, you just select that up and you can listen to it. Or if you say, hey, I want to listen to satellite 4, transmitter 12, whatever you want, whatever you pick, that routes in through this guy right here. And then this has 1/8 inch audio output. So you have stereo audio output that comes up here and we'll go to the DBX. So that'll be a feed into the DBX. I'm actually thinking about kind of getting rid of the DBX. It's kind of nice to have that hands-on analog audio control. Analog in the sense of being able to put your hands on it and make changes if something in the system's not working, or having problems, you know how it is, things happen. It's nice to be able to say, hey, go there and, you know, push this, turn the knob, and you have control. Control system issues or whatever, they still have a backup way of interfacing with the system and controlling it. But anyway, we'll see. Maybe down the road that'll change. So these zip ties here, I know I said we only use Velcro across here, so you may have noticed these zip ties with the tails on them still too. I haven't cut those off and turned them off. The reason is because this is just temporary. There's one there, there's one here. I'm just kind of securing all these cables so that way in transit they don't fall out of the rack or get pinched on something, pinched in between a door or a side panel. We usually lay this rack down flat. I'll probably lay it towards me so all the gear is kind of naturally secured, just laying on there, and the rack screws are really just holding the weight of the equipment, or not the weight of the equipment. They aren't holding the weight. The bars are holding the weight. Uprights are holding the weight of the equipment. They're just holding the equipment in place. So that's how I like to do that. We should usually move and ship these racks flat when we're transporting them. So anyway, this is just to make sure that, you know, a cable doesn't fall out, come back here, get pinched in something, fall out the side, you know, get pinched in maybe when we're loading it or something like that. You know, just something simple. Takes 30 seconds to, you know, take these cables that are dangling down, waiting for their equipment that's not in here yet, DBX and things like that, to just kind of secure them. This Apple TV, I have some Velcro holding that in. I'm not sure how well it's going to hold. The cables will kind of hold it in place, but I may end up having to throw a zip tie on that guy too to keep him from flying around. But yeah, so that's cabling coming here. These cables here are audio lines. So I got mic lines right here that go down to our amp. They come across right there. And I have as well, let's see here. My camera's dying here. Try and get it plugged in so I can charge while I'm filming. So yeah, so I got audio lines for the DBX. This is network line for the DBX, power cord for the DBX. I know it has a power cord on it already, but that's just going to be something I'm going to have to dim out of the old rack. So being able to just pull the equipment, slide it in, plug it in, and be good to go just makes everything nice and fast. I know that's one less thing that I've got to cut out of the old rack, zip ties or wherever it may be, trace it, get it all cut free. This way I can just slide that piece of equipment in. That's really all I need is the equipment itself. IEC cables, I'm sure everybody has a box of those floating around, so no issues there. Actually, the distant power transmitters came with IECs that I'm not using since these are PoE powered, and I'd rather them be PoE powered. I don't want to use these power here. It does function as a redundant power, and so it would work. However, it's nice if for some reason we need to reboot a unit to just be able to come up here and have the customer, you know, unplug the transmitters and boom, they just rebooted this strip or that unit. So that's just a way that we like to run it. So that's why I'm not using those power cables. I'm intentionally leaving them off. Also, is less things to have to plug in and maintain as far as power is concerned. Keeps my power. Really, that's about all I'm using is those. I'll have some power for my satellite boxes. I've got a power strip down here. I'll show you in a second. But really, I'm 6 outlets so far is all I'm using. I'll have my control system, probably a power cord for their laptops and things. But those 12 outlets will be more than enough for the whole rack. Amplifiers, I think we'll have the 1 or 2 amplifier feeds, but yeah, basically those 12 outlets are pretty much going to cover almost everything. Yeah, the back of our data switch, the tray, we have some devices here that will get plugged in here. These RCAs are going to go into the back of our DBX unit up above. Moving down, one thing to note on these lacing bars, I try to kind of space them out and be wise about how I space them out. If I put a lacing bar in for each piece of equipment, you wouldn't be able to get your hand in here to reach in, make changes, unplug things, do things like that. So I try to be cognizant of, you know, working and servicing the rack. Since service is a major part of our business, I try to be aware of, hey, when I'm coming behind to service this piece of equipment, you know, what am I going to run into? What am I going to be thinking about? Versus just saying, oh, I got a piece of equipment here, let me pop a lacing bar in, and making it so you can't reach in there, you can't work on the equipment, things like that. So yeah, that's just kind of how we handle that. Basically what I'm doing is on these, I'm splitting so that this lacing bar is taking care of both of these pieces of equipment here. So both use of equipment. And you'll see I do kind of the same thing as we move down. I try to leave myself as much room as possible to work. So this bar here is kind of feeding lines of the shelf, and it's also going to feed up to the DVX. Moving down here, you can see I've got my line prepped for my control system. This is data line. Camera focus again here. Just want to focus behind. Come on. Come on. So anyway, data line here. I've got an HDMI that'll feed up for the laptop feed. I've got power coming down here. The switches, they follow along the rail here. This would be a good way to show you right here where all my switch power is zip tied. That's going to essentially be permanent. If that comes out, we're swapping out switches. We're making a pretty major change, so I'm not too worried about that. Oh, I forgot to terminate this guy. So this guy right down here is going to be the preview screen. So this is that one that I was talking about here. The one over here, already been managed, plugged in, and ready to go, tested. That's the audio for the Just Add Power system to extract audio out that I was talking about. Let's see here. Satellite. So drawer above here, down here I'll have satellite. This would be power supply. They have one in the current rack, but instead of waiting to get that power supply out of the current rack, I just decided to go ahead and use one that I had in stock. So that's why this one's here. I got to relabel this. So we'll actually label each outlet with which satellite it is. That way if they need to come and unplug a satellite or something like that, it's nice and easy to say, oh, I'm working for satellite 6 right there. So we'll get that all labeled up. I think this holds enough for 8 satellites. We usually put 10 in, so sat 1 and 2 will probably run either directly to the watt box, or they may run to an auxiliary power strip I usually put over here. This right here is power for the Apple TV device. That'll be auxiliary power. Just kind of come off of that. So those devices I don't need individual control over. With this watt box, I have individual control over those outlets. I can tell how much each is pulling, how many amps, watts each is pulling. And I can individually reboot outlets. So if I need to reboot a switch or the whole switch stack, I can do that easily. So I have individual control of those. The control system I'm going to have in there, so I can reboot the control system if need be. Things like that. Satellites, so I'll be able to reboot all 8 satellites except for whichever 2 I pick. Maybe 1 or 2, or maybe 9 and 10 that I may run to this aux power strip, in which case I'd have to reboot the whole aux power strip to reboot those. But usually those devices can kind of combine up. I like to leave sat 1 and 2 separate, because generally those what they put their key things on, so that way I can say, hey, I'm going to reboot 8 satellites, but you still have a couple things to look at on TV as well. Everything's rebooting with those. They take 5-10 minutes sometimes to reboot, so I like to give those time and only do a few at a time, so that way if I reboot 8, they've got 2 to watch, and then when everything comes back up, then I'll reboot those 2 remaining ones. So yeah, so that's where we're at with that. This right here is all the HDMIs, so I just kind of put a Velcro strip over here just to kind of hold these. These are all ready to go. They're going to come across. I'll back off a couple of these Velcro, and they'll come across and plug right back in the back of the satellite boxes. So that's the rack. Oh, I forgot. I mentioned it earlier, but these audio lines here. So these right here are going to be the audio lines that will feed the amps. So again, same thing. Come back a couple zip ties. They'll come in and be nicely wire managed in. Speaker lines will come down with the rest of the bundle once we get on site and be hooked in. So that's basically where we're at. Oh, I said I was going to show this channel here. I didn't really do that. You can kind of see there's an alcove in here. I can actually feed things behind the rails. So I've got data line. This is the data line for the DECA, which gives us data to every single DirecTV box. So with one data connection, we can talk to every single DirecTV box for control. So that's what this guy's doing. Has coax that comes out and sends it over the existing coax, which already has to go to each one of the boxes. So we'll hook that up when we move over all the boxes. Yeah, so I can basically run that nice and neat through there. I did move these rails. These originally were back here, I think, in some of my original, my older videos. I decided to move those forward, partially for this because I like the way that it sits a little nicer, being able to get it a little further forward, and have room to route cables around the back of it if need be, like I'm doing with this power cable right here. I think there was another reason I moved it too, but to be honest, I can't remember what it was right now. Oh, I know what it was. This DECA box, usually they come with an AC adapter. Unfortunately, for whatever reason, this one came with micro USB, and I don't have a AC adapter option. So I ended up, these switches have USB ports on the back of them. So I ended up running this micro USB up, across, did the same thing in this tray, kind of ran through the back, came down, and I'm pulling power off of my main switch here. If you're ever doing something like this, especially stealing USB power from another device, make sure you label it, because somebody's going to inevitably unplug that, think it's not important, whatever, and you're going to wonder why part of your network's acting up. So make sure you label that stuff so it'll be easy for them to find, like, oh, hey, I got this cable hanging free, you know, why is power not working? Oh, I see it going up here. Okay, that's supposed to be plugged in. And if somebody unplugs it, they kind of know what they unplugged. You know, at least a tech or somebody's going to know. Maybe somebody, manager or something, gets in. You know, I don't know if they'd plug their phone or anything clear in the back of the rack, but if they do, at least you'll be able to walk them through, hey, you know, you see that Deca box or that Deca power, get that plugged back in. So anyway, I think that is about it for now. I'll have to wire up all the coax, the splitters and everything for the satellite boxes on site. I'm also going to bring some audio lines. I think usually the first about 4 satellites will take RCA audio, analog audio up to our DBX on. Again, they can get that directly through here, and that might be the primary way that they do it, but that gives them, again, some redundancy in case, you know, something's acting up with that. They can't switch things, control system's acting up. They've got at least a few satellites that they can get audio from. So anyway, that's kind of where we're at. Side panels and doors will have to go on. None of that stuff's on yet. I'll probably leave that off until we actually get on site. But yeah, so I think I'm going to try to do a video on site, but this is going to be a short, pretty quick install. We're looking at about 4 or 5 days. We've got about 30 lines to pull, the rack to install, swap out all the gears, the gear and the rack. We have a bunch of TVs to put up, things to remove and demo out. So we got a lot of work ahead of us, but I'll try to get a video maybe towards the end, if nothing else, showing everything in and connected up and kind of how it ended up. I also try to make sure I'm getting everything labeled as much as I can right now, because that's going to save me time and having to go over it later. But I usually always try to do towards the end, kind of go once through, look at every single cable, make sure everything has a label on it. So I'll try to do that, but we'll see. One thing I don't think that I mentioned was, so these blue pass-through jacks I was talking about right here on the front. So they'll come to these devices that are in this tray. So I'll just use a short patch cable, just plug them straight down in. There'll be 2 more devices over here, so they'll have 1 spare port. So that's what those will be. So, which actually reminds me I need to run a data line for their laptop. So we'll probably want to make sure that that's hooked into data. So that's another thing that I should add in there, is another data line for their laptop, which they could use one over there, but I'd rather have a hardwired connection. So I may take an actual patch cable and cut that apart for that, just simply so I get the stranded cable, since they'll be pulling that in and out a lot. Most of this is solid cable, solid copper. Personally, I don't see any issue with using solid copper on stuff like this. It shouldn't be getting moved and unplugged and moved around a lot. But on something like a laptop tray or a drawer where it's going to be going in and out, using that stranded cable is the way to go. So probably try to do that. But yeah, all the rest of this is solid copper. Makes it nice and easy to kind of form it as well. And usually the solid copper is a little better than the stranded in almost every aspect, except for it doesn't stand up to abuse as well as the stranded does. If you're going to be bending it, moving around, things like that, that's why almost all patch cables are going to be made from stranded copper. So that's kind of the difference there. If you ever notice that your riser cable's stiff and your patch cables are a lot floppier, that's why. So anyway, I think that's it for now. I'll get power. My main power will come in here. I'll get tapped into a line that'll go out. But yeah, I think it's about time to get this guy loaded up. I think that is a wrap. I need to get some IP address label on these switches, since they're managed switches. That way I don't have to think about where they're at in the IP scheme. I'll probably do that as well. But anyway, that is about it for now. So thanks for watching so far. And like I said, hopefully we'll have a kind of a wrap-up video of this whole thing lit up and in use. So thanks. Bye.